Pay attention to this CCTV footage. October 3rd, 11:52 p.m. A rideshare vehicle, silver Honda Accord, 2 years old, dent on the rear left panel, pulls up to 4417 Carver Mill Road on the south edge of Decatur, Georgia. The driver steps out, dark jacket, gray cap, phone in his hand. His name is Marcus Elroy Denton. He is 34 years old, father of 2 daughters, 6 years on the platform, over 9,000 completed trips. This is his last fare of the night. A woman appears in the doorway. She is smiling. She waves like she knows him. Watch carefully. She steps outside instead of getting in. She gestures toward the side of the house. Marcus hesitates for exactly 3 seconds. Then he follows her. At 11:54 p.m., both of them disappear around the corner of that house. That is the last time anyone sees Marcus Elroy Denton alive. What you are looking at is 14 seconds of footage from a neighbor's motion-activated porch camera. 14 seconds. That is all we have. No interior footage, no audio, no follow-up angle from another direction. The camera captured what it captured, and then Marcus and Renata Voss walked past its edge, and the frame went still. Just an empty driveway, just a porch light burning over nothing. 14 seconds. Most people blink more than that without thinking. The question investigators would eventually ask was not what happened inside those 14 seconds. It was how many times before this night Renata Voss had rehearsed exactly this. How many times she had stood in that doorway. How many times she had waved. What investigators found inside that house 11 days later changed the nature of this case entirely. Here is what everyone assumed at first. At 12:09 a.m. on October 4th, the platform flagged Marcus's trip as incomplete. Standard delay warning. Not an emergency alert. Not a trigger for any protocol. Just a flag in a system that flagged dozens of incomplete trips every night across the metro area. Cheryl Denton called Marcus's cell at 12:31 a.m. No answer. She called again at 1:07 a.m. She assumed a dead battery. He sometimes forgot to charge it after long shifts. The platform assumed he had abandoned a fare. It happened occasionally. Drivers had their reasons. When Cheryl called police that night, the first call was dismissed as premature. A grown man, a few hours unaccounted for. Come back in the morning if he's still not home. As for the media, nothing. A black rideshare driver missing in the middle of the night in South Decatur generated no headlines that week. Not one. Wrong. On every count. Wrong. This was not a battery. This was not an abandoned fare. This was not voluntary. This was a reservation. At 7:44 a.m., Marcus's silver Accord was found parked 1 block from 4417 Carver Mill Road. Engine off. Doors unlocked. Phone still on the seat. Platform GPS confirmed the car had not moved since 11:53 p.m. Police contacted Renata Voss. She told them Marcus had dropped her off and driven away. She was calm, cooperative. She made coffee for the officers. That detail will matter later. Days passed. Renata Voss did not call the station to ask for updates, did not reach out to the platform, did not post anything publicly expressing concern. She simply waited. On day 11, an anonymous caller used a payphone voice disguised, brief, and said 3 words that ended the waiting. The crawl space. Back edition. Investigators returned to 4417 Carver Mill Road with a warrant. Marcus Elroy Denton was found beneath the floor of the rear extension, wrapped in contractor-grade plastic sheeting, secured with zip ties. The medical examiner documented blunt force trauma, evidence of physical restraint, and a time of death consistent with the night of October 3rd. He had been there for 11 days. 11 days while his daughters asked their mother where their father was, and their mother ran out of ways to answer. Cheryl Denton identified him through a photograph. She couldn't go inside. She stood in the parking lot and held her older daughter's drawing of their family, the one Marcus had taped to his dashboard. It was still on the dashboard when they found the car. What they found inside Renata Voss's home specifically, inside the locked storage cabinet in her bedroom, changed everything about how they understood what kind of person she was. Let me tell you about Marcus Elroy Denton first, because he deserves that. He deserves to be more than a case number and a 14-second clip. Marcus was born in Macon, Georgia, the youngest of 3 brothers, which meant he learned early how to be patient, how to wait his turn, and how to make himself useful. He studied for 2 years at Georgia Perimeter College before his mother got sick. He came home without being asked. He worked warehouse logistics for 4 years after that, then delivery, then found Rideshare in 2017 and decided to stay. He told his brother Deshaun why. "Nobody's watching the clock," he said. "It's just me and the road and whoever needs to get somewhere." He liked the sound of that. That's the kind of man he was. He married Cheryl in 2016 at a small ceremony at her aunt's house in Lithonia. Close family, good food, no fuss. They had 2 daughters, Imani, who was 8, and Zora, who was 5. Named after an author Marcus had never read, but whose name he thought sounded like someone worth becoming. On the platform, Marcus carried a 4.97 star rating across more than 9,000 completed trips, the highest tier the platform awarded. He earned it, 1 ride at a time. Mrs. Patricia Owens, 71, in East Atlanta, needed rides to dialysis 3 times a week. She requested Marcus specifically when she could. She tipped him in homemade pound cake. Mr. Theodore Chun on Peyton Road had stopped driving after his wife died and told Marcus he was the only person outside his house he actually talked to anymore. Marcus kept a small notebook in his glove box, not for navigation, for names, his regulars. He wrote them down so he would never forget them. When a rider once left an umbrella in his back seat, he drove it back personally. He did it twice. Every night, around 9 p.m., he called Cheryl from the car, not for long, just to hear the girls before they went to sleep. Every night, even the long ones, even the tired ones. 6 years, over 9,000 trips, 300,000 miles of other people's problems and celebrations and midnight emergencies. This was not just a job. This was how Marcus built something. Not a fortune, not a reputation, a body of trust. His virtue was simple. He showed up. He never canceled a late ride. He never avoided a request from a neighborhood that other drivers skipped after dark. He believed, genuinely, stubbornly believed, that most people were good, and that making them feel safe was a kind of service worth doing right. His daughters knew this. On weekend afternoons, they would climb into the back seat and pretend to be passengers. Imani always gave him 5 stars. And on October 3rd, at 11:47 p.m., when Renata Voss's request came through South Decatur, late, no other drivers nearby, that belief is what made him accept it. But Marcus didn't know that someone had been watching. Not just that night, for 11 days before it. Now let me tell you about Renata Voss. But not everything. Not yet. Because what you need to understand first is how someone like Renata becomes invisible. Renata Voss, 41, had lived at 4,417 Carver Mill Road for 6 years. She bought the house in 2017. Cash, no mortgage on record. In that zip code, at that price range, cash buyers weren't unusual. No one flagged it. No one asked where the money came from. She told neighbors she was a freelance medical billing consultant. Worked from home, kept odd hours. The house was maintained, gutters cleaned, grass cut on schedule, an American flag on the porch post every 4th of July. She attended 1 neighborhood association meeting per year. Not every meeting, just one, just enough to be seen. Neighbors described her as private. One of them said it simply. She always waved, never stopped to talk, but she always waved. Always waved. Never stopped. There is a difference. But here is what none of them knew. Between 2019 and 2021, Renata Voss was banned from 3 separate rideshare platforms, each time under a slightly different name, different payment method, different email address. The bans came from driver complaints, men who reported feeling followed after drop-offs, feeling watched, one who said she had photographed him through the window during the ride. Each complaint was logged by each platform independently. None were cross-referenced. None triggered an alert across systems. The warnings existed, they just never found each other. In her bedroom, there was a locked storage cabinet. Inside that cabinet, there was a binder. We will get to that binder. But first, remember this. Renata's brother Joel Voss, 44, had served 8 months in Forsyth County Detention Center for aggravated stalking in 2018. The victim was a male service worker, a plumber who had come to the house Joel shared with Renata at the time. Same house, same dynamic, different platform. The case file existed. The connection was there. No one looked. Investigators eventually reconstructed what Renata did next. On September 22nd, 11 days before Marcus Denton died, she created a new platform account. Over the following 11 nights, she made 7 ride requests, all after 11 p.m., all to the same address or within 2 blocks of it, all male drivers. Trips 1 through 6 were completed. The drivers dropped her off and drove away. None filed complaints. She wasn't trying to harm them. She was studying them, how they responded to an unusual request, whether they would step out of the car, whether they would follow. Trip 7 was Marcus, and on the night of October 3rd, Joel Voss's cell phone pinged a tower 1 block from 4417 Carver Mill Road at 11:48 p.m., 4 minutes before Marcus arrived. He was already there, already in position. Marcus accepted the request at 11:47 p.m. Joel was in place by 11:48. She had already made the call. Renata Voss didn't need Marcus to do anything unusual. She needed him to do exactly what he always did. Show up, be kind, follow someone who seemed to need help. She had spent 11 days making sure she found someone exactly like him. October 3rd, Friday night. Marcus's last ride before he planned to head home. Cheryl had texted at 10:45 p.m. "Girls are down, drive safe." He sent back a thumbs up and a red heart. He had started his shift at 4:30 p.m. A Friday good surge pricing, clear skies, the kind of night that made the hours move well. By 11 p.m., he had completed 14 trips. The last logged before Renata's request was a couple heading to a birthday dinner in Midtown. They left him a $5 cash tip and told him to have a good night. He called Cheryl at 9:12 p.m. from a gas station on Memorial Drive. She put Zora on the phone. Zora sang him part of a song she'd learned at school that week, off-key, enthusiastic, all the way through. He laughed. Cheryl said she could hear it over the engine. At 11:47 p.m., Renata's request came through. 4.8 minutes away. Last fare of the night. He was almost home. 11:52 p.m. The neighbor's porch camera activates. Watch carefully. Marcus parks at the curb and steps out. That was his practice for late-night single riders. Step out, be visible, make them feel safer. He is standing at the front of his car when Renata appears in the doorway. She has no bag, no purse, no jacket, nothing in her hands. She waves. Then she gestures not toward the car, but toward the side of the house. Investigators later describe that gesture as directing, not inviting. Marcus stops. His weight shifts back onto his heels, not forward, back. His body is reading something his mind has not yet named. He hesitates for exactly 3 seconds. Then he steps forward. At 11:54 p.m., both figures move past the camera's edge. The frame goes still. Just the porch light. Just an empty driveway. 3 seconds. That is all the distance there was between instinct and what came next. Here is what the cameras did not capture. Joel Voss was waiting on the far side of the house. His presence is established by boot prints in the soil, 2 cigarette filters, and a single latex glove recovered during the forensic sweep. Marcus was struck from behind. The medical examiner documented 2 impacts to the rear of the skull, consistent with a pipe or a heavy tool. He was restrained with zip ties, the same brand, the same lot number, as those found later in the locked storage cabinet inside the house. He was alive when restrained. The evidence is clear on this. He was alive. What happened after that inside that house, in that crawl space, I cannot describe in detail. What I can tell you is that Marcus fought. The medical examiner's report is unambiguous on that. He fought. Even then, even there, he fought. That matters. That is part of who he was. Renata Voss went inside and made coffee. Her smart coffee maker logs every brew cycle. At 12:03 a.m., it recorded an 8-cup pot. Joel Voss was already gone. His dark pickup captured on a traffic camera on I-285 at 12:21 a.m., heading north. The third individual referenced in communications, later recovered the contact, was never physically placed at the scene. Whether present that night or coordinating remotely remains a disputed point in the case record. The next morning, Renata opened her front door, collected her mail, and waved at the neighbor across the street. Then she went back inside. She waved. She always waved. Somewhere across Decatur, Marcus's silver Accord sat 1 block away with his phone on the seat and his notebook in the glove box, open to the last name he'd written. Mrs. Owens. Tuesday dialysis. 11 days passed. Renata Voss did not call the platform, did not check in with police, did not post anything, did not leave town. She waited. That is the word investigators kept returning to. Not hiding, not fleeing, waiting. As if the outcome were already settled and the only thing left was for everyone else to catch up. On day 12, following the anonymous tip, investigators returned to 4417 Carver Mill Road with a full warrant. The crawlspace access was located behind the washing machine. Scuff marks on the floor indicated the machine had been moved recently and moved back. Marcus's body was recovered. The scene was processed, and then investigators walked into the kitchen. The coffee maker was on the counter. 2 mugs sat in the dish rack, both washed, both clean. One was tested, anyway, standard procedure in a homicide scene search. The interior of the secondary mug tested positive for trace amounts of a pharmaceutical sedative, short-acting, consistent with incapacitation, consistent with someone who had done their research on dosage and timing. Then they found the storage cabinet. It was in the bedroom, biometric lock, fingerprint, entry. Renata Voss, seated in the living room with her attorney present, refused to open it. Investigators applied for forced entry authorization. It was granted. The cabinet was opened. What they found inside changed everything about how they understood Renata Voss. A 3-ring binder, tabbed, organized. Inside, 41 photographs, printed on standard paper, not digital files. 41 different men, all of them drivers, all of them photographed without their knowledge from back seats, from windows, through windshields. Close, deliberate. Each photograph had a handwritten label on the back. The platform name Renata had used for that trip, the date, the driver's star rating, a physical description. The oldest photograph was dated March 2019. The city printed below it, Columbus, Ohio. She had been doing this for over 4 years before Marcus Denton ever appeared on her screen. But here is what made investigators stop breathing. 9 of the 41 photographs had a red circle drawn around the driver's face. Not crossed out, not marked for deletion. Circled, selected. Marcus Denton's photograph was the 9th. Dated September 24, 2023, 9 days before he died. 9 days. She had looked at his face for 9 days before he ever looked at hers. Detectives moved to evidence layering. Platform data was subpoenaed across all 7 accounts Renata had used going back to 2019. The pattern held consistent across every one. Late-night requests, male drivers, addresses in low-traffic residential areas. It was not random behavior. It was a methodology. Phone records placed Renata's call to Joel Voss at 11:41 p.m. on October 3rd, 6 minutes before Marcus accepted her request. The call lasted 4 minutes. Text messages recovered from Renata's phone, dated September 29th, were sent to an unsaved number. The exchange was brief. Renata. Found one. High rating, South Side, consistent nights. Unknown. Send the profile. Renata. Sending now. At 11:03 p.m. that same night, Marcus Denton's platform profile, his name, his photograph, his star rating, his typical operating hours, was transmitted as an image attachment to that number. 4 days before Renata created the account she used to request him. Forensics confirmed Joel Voss's DNA on one of the zip ties recovered from the crawlspace. Renata's fingerprints were on the contractor plastic sheeting. There was no gap in the evidence. They had left almost none. The contact, the unsaved number, was traced to a burner phone purchased at a gas station in Gwinnett County on September 20th. The phone had been active for 9 days. Then, it went dark. No name attached to the purchase, no surveillance footage recovered from that particular pump. The number leads nowhere. Joel Voss was arrested on October 15th at a relative's home in Covington. He said nothing, requested a lawyer immediately, stayed quiet through every subsequent interview. Renata Voss was arrested the same day. Her first words to investigators, "I want it noted that I cooperated when you came to my home." She was referring to that first morning, the coffee she had made for the officers, the calm way she had answered their questions. She said it like it was a ledger entry, like it offset something. She thought it did. The evidence was overwhelming, but the third person, the contact who received Marcus Denton's profile 9 days before he died, has never been identified, has never been charged. And investigators believe Renata Voss knows exactly who that is. October 15th, 2023. Arrests. Renata Louise Voss, 41, charged with felony murder, aggravated assault, and conspiracy to commit homicide. Joel Andrew Voss, 44, charged with felony murder and aggravated assault. Both plead not guilty. During a second interview, Renata Voss did something investigators did not expect. She asked about the binder. Not to deny it, not to explain it away, to explain it. She described each tabbed section with the precision of someone walking a colleague through a well-maintained filing system. Dates organized chronologically, locations cross-referenced, physical descriptors written in consistent shorthand. She spoke about the photographs the way someone speaks about a collection they are proud of. She did not lower her voice. She did not hesitate. Detective Amara Osei had been on the force for 17 years. She had conducted hundreds of interviews. At minute 23 of that session, she stopped the recording, stood up, and walked outside. She did not return for 11 minutes. She later testified about that moment from the stand. "I have interviewed people who have done terrible things," Detective Osei said. "I have never sat across from someone who described them like a hobby." Like a hobby. She said it quietly. She meant it plainly. May 7th, 2024. Trial begins. DeKalb County Superior Court. The prosecution laid out its case methodically. Platform records spanning 7 accounts across 3 services and 5 years. The binder and its 41 photographs. Phone records placing Renata's call to Joel at 11:41 p.m. on October 3rd. The text exchange with the unknown contact, "Found one, send the profile, sending now." The forensic evidence tying both Voss siblings directly to the scene, and the 14-second clip from the neighbor's porch camera. The jury watched it twice. Marcus stepping out of the car, Renata in the doorway, no bag, no jacket, nothing in her hands. The gesture toward the side of the house, the 3-second pause, weight back on his heels, body reading something his mind had not yet caught, both figures moving past the camera's edge. The prosecution paused on that last frame and let it sit. He hesitated. His instincts told him something was wrong, and he followed her anyway because 9,000 trips had taught him that most people are not dangerous. 9,000 trips. One assumption. That is the cruelest math of this case. The defense argued that no physical evidence placed Renata inside the crawlspace. No direct proof, they said, that she ordered the killing or participated in it personally. Joel Voss acted independently, the defense claimed. For Joel, a diminished capacity argument was entered. It was rejected. On day 6, the defense's own forensic witness conceded under cross-examination that the zip ties connecting Joel Voss to the scene were purchased on the same receipt as the contractor plastic sheeting wrapped around Marcus Denton's body. One receipt, one hardware store in Smyrna, dated September 30th, 3 days after Marcus's platform profile was transmitted to the unknown contact. Same receipt. The timeline collapsed the defense from the inside. The jury deliberated for 9 hours across 2 days. Then they came back. Guilty. All counts. Both defendants. August 19th, 2024. Sentencing. Renata Louise Voss. Life without the possibility of parole. Joel Andrew Voss. Life, with the possibility of parole after 30 years. The unknown contact. No charges filed. Investigation listed as ongoing. Cheryl Denton did not speak at the sentencing hearing. She submitted a written statement instead. The judge read part of it aloud. "My daughters will grow up knowing their father was good. I need them to know that. Whatever else this took from us, it did not take that." The courtroom was quiet for a long time after that. Justice was served. Partially. For one victim. By one name. But the contact who selected Marcus Denton with Renata Voss, who received his photograph and said, "Send the profile," walked out of this case without a single charge. But here is what the conviction cannot fix. The binder contained 41 photographs. 9 had red circles. Marcus Denton is the only confirmed victim. That leaves 8 circles, 8 men whose photographs were selected, labeled, organized, and marked. 8 men whose names appear in no case file, no missing persons report, no cross-referenced investigation. 8 men, or 8 near misses, or 8 who disappeared and were attributed to something else entirely. There is no way right now to know which. Investigators requested platform data for all 9 circled drivers. 2 could not be identified. Their account data had been purged under standard retention policies, a routine decision made by a server somewhere, with no knowledge of what it was erasing. 2 men. No names. No way to check whether they are alive. The unknown contact received Marcus's profile. Investigators believe but cannot prove that Renata Voss had sent profiles before, that this was not the first time, that Marcus was not the beginning. Of the 9 circled men in that binder, only one family knows what happened to their father. 8 families do not know they may have a reason to ask. Cheryl Denton gave one interview after the trial, just one. She said she thinks about 11:47 p.m. constantly, the exact moment the request came through on Marcus's phone. She thinks about the variables. What would have happened if surge pricing had ended 30 seconds earlier? If he had already logged off for the night? If he had just driven home? She thinks about Mrs. Patricia Owens, the dialysis patient from East Atlanta, who called the day after Marcus's body was found and cried for 20 minutes without saying much of anything at all. And how that call, Cheryl said, was more comforting than most of the ones from people who knew exactly what to say. The hardest part, Cheryl said, is Imani. Imani, who is 9 now, who wants to be a driver when she grows up, like her dad. Cheryl doesn't know how to tell her no, doesn't know how to explain that the same quality that made her father extraordinary, the showing up, the trust, the belief that people are worth helping, is the quality that someone found and used against him. She's 9. That conversation can wait. Except it can't. Following Marcus Denton's case, 2 major rideshare platforms announced new safety features: late-night ride monitoring, automatic driver check-ins for trips in low-traffic areas after 11 p.m., and the option to share live trip data with emergency contacts. These are good changes. They may save lives. But here is what they cannot change. Renata Voss did not exploit a gap in the technology. She exploited a gap in assumption. The assumption that a passenger requesting a driver is, by definition, the more vulnerable person in the transaction. She understood that assumption. She built around it. She inverted it completely. And the system had no category for what she was. No algorithm flags a 4-star passenger with a friendly wave and a porch light on. The danger looked exactly like safety. That was the design. Marcus Denton's driver account username MarcusD_ATL, 9,043 completed trips, 4.97 stars, was retired by the platform on November 1, 2023. His notebook, the one found in the glove box of his silver Accord with his regulars' names written inside, was returned to Cheryl after the trial concluded. Mrs. Patricia Owens still takes a cab to dialysis on Tuesdays and Thursdays. She says it's not the same. She doesn't use that word the way most people do. She means something deeper than routine. A small memorial was placed outside 4417 Carver Mill Road by community members, flowers, a photograph, and a handwritten note. It read, "He showed up. Every time. This is what happened to Marcus Elroy Denton. This is what 14 seconds of CCTV footage captured. This is what a wave and a gesture toward the side of a house cost 2 little girls. If you drive for a living, any platform, any city, any hour, I need you to hear this. Marcus Denton did nothing wrong. He was experienced, professional, careful, kind. He trusted the design of the system he worked in. The system was not designed for Renata Voss. Watch carefully, not for the obvious warning signs, for the missing ones. No bag, no jacket, a gesture away from the car instead of toward it, the request that pulls you somewhere a camera cannot follow. Trust the weight shift. Trust the heels going back. Trust the 3 seconds your body already knows how to read. Marcus's body knew. He had 3 seconds. Share this video. Say his name. Tell people what a late-night request from a residential address, no bag, no jacket, no reason to step away from the car actually looks like. Because the platform has an algorithm, and the algorithm did not protect Marcus Denton. Only awareness of cases like his can do that now. Marcus deserved better. His daughters deserve a world where the next driver comes home, and every person doing an honest night's work deserves to make it to morning. Imani Denton is 9 years old. She wants to be a driver like her father. She doesn't know yet why her mother gets quiet when she says it. She will learn someday. The only thing we can do, the only thing any of us can do, is make sure the world she drives into is a little safer than the one that took him.